Welcome to Bindu Dundat. Today we have two amazing guests with us who have just graduated from high school, Nidhi Kashyap and Vishnu Hedese. I'm Pranav, and
I'm Pajit.
we're your hosts for Bindu Dundat. Why don't you all introduce yourselves? Nidhi, why don't you get us started?
Hi, my name is Nidhi Kashyap. I just graduated from Independence High School in Frisco, and I'm about to go to UT Austin to study business at the Macomb School of Business.
Hello, my name is Vishnu Hedese. I graduated from Heritage High School in Frisco. I will be studying informatics in the School of Information at UT Austin this fall.
All right, awesome. So, going off of the fact that both of y'all are going to UT Austin, why don't you tell us a little bit about what got you interested in it and what that application process was like?
Vishnu, you want to go ahead?
So since moving here in sophomore year, I've always wanted to go to UT. Listening to the seniors who graduated, it was ideal for me as it was in state and it was a top 10 public university. Um, my interest in data science just was a recent thing. I've always wanted to do something related to technology, but I got interested into data science recently, and I think UT was the right place for me.
I think when it comes to like high school in Texas, at least, UT is like the one place everyone applies to, the one place everyone wants to get into. So I think UT was like a given for me when it came to my college applications. But when I visited first in like sophomore year, and that's when I knew like UT was the place for me. It's the perfect blend of like work hard and play hard, which I really appreciate. And so yeah, that's what got me interested in UT. But when it came to business, I think I was always like a creative person, but I didn't want to do anything math or science related. When it came to high school, I joined DECA, and DECA is where my interest in business really was sparked. So when it came to my college applications, I knew that I wanted to go the business route.
hmm And I know both of you like were extensively involved in music through high school and even before that. So can you talk a little bit about your music experience, maybe like what you did and that stuff?
Yeah, so for me, music like was a big part of my life from childhood. I started singing when I was like 5 years old. Amma put me into like music classes, Indian music classes, and I feel like that did a lot when it came to like not only connecting with my culture, but also like teaching me discipline. I had to sit and sing for like hours on end, and I feel like that did a lot when it came to like other things that required my focus. But I also explored music when it came to this thing called the Cleveland Tyagaraja Aradhana. I feel like that helped me really enjoy music because I made friends, I traveled with them, we explored cafes in Cleveland along with singing. You know, it was a great experience for me to enjoy. And now in high school, I was part of the orchestra at Independence High School. And so that gave me like a good exposure to another form of classical music. So I feel like, yeah, music has helped not only with like culture, but also with like focus and discipline.
I think the music part is I've had the same trajectory as Nidhi. My mom put me into Carnatic music at 4 when when I moved from US to India, and she's just been really persistent. I never really had much interest in it, but she always kept pushing me, and at one point I started enjoying it. I started taking it more seriously, and I think over the years I started figuring out different sorts of music, and I even had me and my friends had like a little band in during the COVID time. It was like we made rock music and stuff. So I don't know, I experimented with different sorts of music. I mean, the videos weren't really that great, but like it just gave me exposure to different types of music, and I feel like it's played a big part in just my personality over the years, just listening to different music, just taking in my mom, she's a Bharatanatyam teacher, so I get classical music there, and then I listen to R&B and different sorts of music. So it just in my house there's just a lot of music going on, and it just played a big role in who I am today.
That's awesome. And going off of that, kind of What are y'all doing in UT to further your interest in music or kind of apply that to what you're doing there right now?
Um, I haven't really given it much of a thought. But I hope to join like an a cappella team or like just get involved in like music, or if not, just visit concerts because Austin is like a hotspot for things of that sort. So
I think for me, like growing up with music, I thought UT was a chance for me to explore beyond music, explore other hobbies that I have. But I'm definitely going to continue enjoying music and appreciating it. And UT is a great place for me to do that with all the concerts they have.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned that you moved to India in when you were 4 and you moved back in sophomore year, right, Vishnu? What was that like?
yes. If I'm being honest, I wouldn't recommend moving in the middle of high school to anybody. It was definitely a lot for me. Just trying to fit in from like the accent to how kids were so hyper competitive about things like ECs and that sort. So when you come here, you're just a little lost in like a big school. There's like a CT center, there's buses to catch, there's a schedule, like the bell schedule. It's completely different to India. I'm not saying that India's harder in terms of academics. Everything like America has its own things and so does India, but just to fit in, it was really hard for me. But it took time and I figured it out. But I wish I moved here a year earlier, but I made most of what I had and I definitely it was an experience I'll never forget. Something that'll help me throughout my life.
Yeah, and Nidhi, I know you have a little bit of a similar experience. That you lived in India for a bit. Can you tell us what that was like?
Yeah, so I didn't live in India nearly as much as Vishnu has, but I did live in India throughout my elementary school years, and I feel like those are like really pivotal and like foundational when it comes to like how a child grows up and like things like that. So I feel like that really influenced a bunch of things when I moved back to America. So, particularly, that would be so like right now, I feel like a lot of my friends, they have a very casual relationship with their teachers. It's very like friendly almost. But I feel like in India, the like relationship you have with your teachers is like built on like so much respect to a point where you like put them like almost on a pedestal, which I'm not saying one is better than the other, but even now I still struggle with like talking to my teachers casually, updating them on my life, and that impacts a lot when it comes to like asking for help, asking for like recommendations, even asking for like extensions on deadlines and things like that. My friends are very like they find it very easy to talk to their teachers, so I feel like that's one thing. But other than that, I feel like moving back to America at a very young age was much easier to adapt to like this environment. So, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And uh, I know that like for a college application, you need to have a lot of those aspects of kind of your life and your personality put into it. And a lot of that is your music and your experience kind of living in India for both of you. And can y'all tell us a little bit about how both of those things factored into your applications and maybe what other things were also a big part of it?
So an important part of my main essay was how I really wanted to make the varsity soccer team. So I based my almost my entire story on that, the journey of how like I had to adapt from like a less physical environment in terms of soccer in India and then to hear like the harsh Texas weather and everything. So it was that journey I kind of showed how I had to adapt from one place to another, and I don't know, I kind of turned it around to show how fast I can adapt and how I can do that at UT. That's the picture I painted basically.
I feel like for my college applications, I know that like the theme of like being an immigrant, especially like battling two different identities is like a very common theme for college applications right now. So I wanted to like step outside of that a little bit and still use my culture but not make it like a cliche. So I talked about how so I started a business a couple of years ago where I help people um conduct their Arengate drums. So I help plan and like execute those art engagements. So I talked about how the process of developing that business allowed me to reflect on bits and pieces of my life, whether it be from India or here. So talking about that really brought together like a culture of like entrepreneurship that I wanted to highlight, while also talking about like my own culture and like developing my own R&D drum as well as conducting other people's. So that was the basis of my main essay. I feel like the one thing I can say is to try to make it not um, only about one aspect of your life, but kind of combining other aspects of it as well.
Yeah, and kind of speaking a little bit more on the college application process, um, I kind of want to go a little bit more in depth here. Like, what were y'all's thought processes when applying? What kind of schools did you look for? Especially you, Vishnu, being like in a more new environment with kind of your high school and all. What were y'all looking for first and foremost there?
Um, I actually had a ton of colleges, and I had to cut it down because I was just picking schools left and right without even thinking. And then finally, I started looking at campus reviews, how students were doing in terms I'd spend hours stalking on LinkedIn, like job prospects and stuff, to figure out if it was really worth it to pursue a degree in that college. And finally, after like with the help of my counselor, I narrowed down from like 50 schools to like maybe 12 or 13 schools, and I picked degrees that I felt were niche and that I could write about, that I could show I had expertise on, and I went from there.
Um, when it came to my college application process, well, I knew that I wanted to do business. So I feel like I first started by looking at colleges that I knew were good at like business programs. So I started researching those. YouTube has has a lot of good resources. A lot of people, um, most of the things that you find online on like websites are like professionals writing about colleges. But I really wanted to know the student perspective. So I looked at like YouTube vlogs and things like that to understand the rigor, the coursework of certain colleges and their business programs. That helped a lot for me to narrow down my schools. But then also living in Texas and having UT as like an in-state school, that like does a lot for you. So whatever colleges I had shortlisted, I kept comparing them to UT and seeing if like I would choose those programs over UT's programs. And that helped me a lot because like Vishnu said, I also had like 50 plus schools that I wanted to apply to. So knowing which ones I would actually consider going to over UT really made a difference when it came to narrowing down my schools.
And I know, Vishnu, you talked about your degree is in your major is what again? Sorry,
Informatics.
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 And how did you kind of decide on that major and then going into the data science field?
So I'm part of this organization. It's called One School at a Time. And over the summer, I go help students learn like coding languages, things of that sort. I take online tests, and these students are part of rural communities, and their schools, their public schools have been rebuilt. So I was part of a program there called Odyssey, where with a team of engineers, I helped kind of analyze data and sort of bring together the online an online like platform for where they learn, and seeing the results and things of that sort, I realized the interaction between like humans and technology is something I really want to do, and informatics was literally just that, and that's something I really enjoyed, so I wanted to pursue something like that.
That's awesome. And Nidhi, I know that you mentioned you started a business like before you had decided to go to UT. Like, did that play a part into your decision to go into a business major?
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like starting a business, especially like early on in high school, you're just kind of like experimenting a bunch. But I knew that like starting my business was like an experience that I like thoroughly enjoyed. I enjoyed the whole like trial and error process and things like that, and that made me look into entrepreneurship and certain courses like that. Um, I chose business, however, compared to entrepreneurship because I feel like anyone can be an entrepreneur if they have a foundation in certain business courses and things like that. So yeah, I definitely think starting a business helped a lot with my
And
decision.
sorry, can you talk about your DECA experience in high school as well, and how that also played into that?
Yeah. I love DECA. I absolutely love DECA. I'm such a DECA girl. Um, DECA was very, very important to me because I learned a lot of like information and a lot of like things that I will definitely implement in like my daily life and my business career. Whether that be things like talking to professionals, networking, um, like business casual attire, or even like some more like stronger foundational skills like what a market value proposition is, or a like data analysis is when it comes to like a 4-year plan or a 5-year plan when it comes to starting your own business. So those things were like things that we did as members of DECA, not because of like the coursework that DECA gave, but more as like things that we took on our own in order to become better competitors in DECA. So I feel like DECA really, really helped me out a lot when it comes to things like that, but also like building connections and making friends who are also equally driven and equally interested in the same things you are.
That's awesome. And speaking of a 5-year plan, what do y'all think that looking forward your college experience is going to be, and what do you want to get out of it most?
Maybe you got him still thinking.
Okay. Um, I think college is really what you make of it. There's so many opportunities, especially in like a big state school like UT, but the opportunities aren't like necessarily given to you. It's something you have to seek out. So I think over the course of 4 years, I'm looking forward to seeking out certain experiences, whether that be professional or like things like joining a sorority, which like everyone has their own paths that they might go down. But I think for me, when it comes to the next 4 years, I'm looking forward to making friendships that mean a lot to me and will take me far, but also professional connections, networking with my professors and other people beyond the UT scene, but also taking advantage of certain opportunities um, an a cappella group, like Vishnu mentioned, or professional organizations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, you're good. You're good. You're good. You can go.
No, sorry. I was just gonna try to segue it into you. My bad.
Okay. So just like Nidhi said, I'd like to think that the people at UT, my peers, or most of them at least, will be driven. So I want to make connections and just grow my network, find peers who are like-minded and want to work towards, I don't know, bettering their lives, bettering other people's lives. I also want to have fun at the same time. So I think UT is like the perfect place for that. Like to, as Nidhi said, work hard, play hard, and I'm really excited to make new friends and just figure myself out there.
And as we wrap up this episode, what is one piece of advice you would give to maybe high school freshmen or sophomores who starting to think about their college applications and like the future? What is one piece of advice you would give them?
I'd say I'd say try everything out. Don't limit yourself to maybe say you figured out something. Say you like aerospace engineering. I'd never say give up on that. I'd say try other things. You might even find an interest in entrepreneurship. There's such a big world out there, so many different things you can learn. There's always you're never too old to learn. And especially in high school, joining clubs like DECA, things of that sort will really find your different interests you have, and together you can accumulate all that to apply to whatever dream college you have, whatever dream major you want to. So
I was about to say it's never too old to learn, but I would also say my biggest piece of advice is that it's not it's never too early to start. I feel like everyone kind of misguided me in a way by telling me that like it's okay, I'll figure it out later down the line. Whenever I was confused, I would just push it on to junior and senior year. And I feel like that didn't do me benefit. I feel like if someone had told me to sit down and figure out what it is I want to do with my life, it doesn't have to be a career or a major that I wanted to pursue, that I needed to know my freshman year, but just generally what value I wanted to bring to the world. I feel like it isn't too early to figure that out. And I feel like once you figure that out, like Vishnu said, it's so much more impactful exploring all of these different avenues, knowing the goal you have in mind, rather than just aimlessly exploring random subjects, hoping that something will click. Actually having a goal and something in mind as you research and dive into these topics makes a huge difference when it comes to junior and senior year, when you've built a resume that you can use for college applications and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you both so much for all of your advice and your insights here. And as we wrap up for today, is there anything that you would want to add, kind of just at the very end here, that you want to leave our viewers with, or like any advice that you would give yourself a few years in the past, maybe?
Um, I also think another big piece of advice I would give myself a couple of years previously would be to learn what to prioritize. I feel um, like if friends are really true, then they'll always be there. So you don't have to give up your sleep schedule to talk to friends, or you know, like forget about your own personal health and your own personal space. It's important to set boundaries, not only when it comes to friends, but also when it comes to other social activities or like your own family and things like that, to make sure that you're prioritizing your own health and well-being, especially when it gets extremely difficult during college application times, to balance everything. Make sure you're prioritizing yourself is one big thing. Vishnu, you have any other thoughts?
No, I think you nailed it.
Awesome. Well, thank you all both so much. This has been a great episode. Y'all have been such a great guest with us, and I hope everyone enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.